Even before the ushering in of 2022, higher inflation had become the hot potato issue driving global markets. The United States recently registered an annualized inflation rate of 7% and the Eurozone 5%. And there are a number of factors driving it.
One is demand surging with supply being still falling behind, and supply interruptions primarily caused by COVID, by restrictions that are associated with the waves of COVID still with us. The pressure on prices comes from food prices shooting up.
Georgieva says she thinks the Fed, which is now on a monetary tightening schedule, is managing to strike the delicate balance between addressing higher inflation pressures while at the same time ensuring the US's economic growth gains don't dissipate. However, she's warning especially developing countries with high dollar-denominated debt to get their house in order.
And our message to countries with high level of dollar-denominated debt is act now. If you can extend maturities, please do it. If you have currency mismatches, now is the moment to address them.
The head of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, acknowledges that inflationary pressures are on the up, but notes that the experience in the Eurozone is not identical to that occurring in the United States, and that therefore the monetary approach won't necessarily be the same or as aggressive. The ECB is currently working on a number of assumptions.
We assume, and again, lesson of humility here, there is a lot of uncertainty about it. But we assume for the moment that energy prices will stabilize in the course of 22, that those bottlenecks and those congested ports and drivers missing in action and all the rest of it will also stabilize in the course of 22, and that gradually those inflation numbers will decline.
But in recognition of the short-term inflationary pressures, the ECB is set to begin unwinding its bond asset purchases in March and says if inflation remains elevated thereafter, it will look to raising interest rates if needs be. Japan remains an odd case. As with other advanced nations, it also flooded its capital market and real economy with financial support. Given its deflation history and despite this COVID support, its inflation dial continues to barely move.
I think the extremely accommodative, stimulative monetary policy worked quite well to reinvigorate the economy, but inflation rate still far less than the 2% target. So that means that unlike in the US or Europe, we have to continue our extremely accommodative, easy monetary policy for the time being, because we expect the inflation rate in fiscal 2022 as well as 23 being around 1% still.
On the global health front, the IMF says more work needs to be done to get the vast majority of the globe vaccinated, as this will spur wholesale economic prosperity. They noted the divergence in vaccine access, mentioning that in advanced economies, average vaccination rates had hit 70%, while in sub-Saharan Africa, for example, the average vaccination rate stood at a pitiful 7%. Nompumelo Losiziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.